Good afternoon, Gary Community School Corporation family. We are live at WLTH, where our superintendent, Dr. Yvonne Stokes, and our chief academic officer, Dr. Cynthia Treadwell, will be featured in a conversation talking about a recap of the school year. Please tune in, as this show will be hosted by none other than Natalie Ammons of WLTH Radio. We'll be starting momentarily, and thank you in advance for tuning in.
All right, and welcome back. The time now is a couple minutes after the 12 o'clock hour, and I have been promising that I was going to have a dynamic, wonderful young lady on, and she not only teaches, but she sings as well, so very impressive, and I'm happy to have the moment to sit down and have some conversation with her. She also has a guest with her, and we're looking forward to just learning some things about the Gary Community School Corporation. And by that, now you know who I'm talking about. It's the wonderful, lovely, Miss Dynamic Dr. Stokes, Yvonne Stokes. How are you doing today, lady?
I am doing fine, and I am happy to be here with you and, of course, some of my colleagues. Dr. Cynthia Treadwell is with me. She's our Chief Academic Officer, but I'm doing fine.
Good afternoon. It is so great to be with you on today.
Give me a little bit of volume, or pull your mic in a little bit closer. How are you? It's nice to meet you.
It is nice to meet you as well. I am Dr. Cynthia Treadwell, the Chief Academic Officer for the Gary Community School Corporation, and glad to be here with you on today.
Wow. And you've been with the corporation. You joined us at what point? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I had the amazing opportunity to join the team in October of 2024. I hail from the south side of Chicago, and it has been a few short months, it feels like, but it has been great to transition into this role and learn a lot about Gary, and learn a lot about our scholars and our families. My background is in education. I've been in education 24 years. I've had the opportunity to be a teacher, of course, an assistant principal, a principal, and as well as a district leader in Chicago prior to coming here. So I'm a mom, I'm a wife. I have two children, both in high school. My son actually just graduated last Sunday.
Congratulations.
Yes, and so he will be a freshman in the fall. My daughter will be a sophomore, and I will be married 19 years this year in September. So I know.
I'm trying to say, you're saying 24, and I'm trying to connect this one and connect that dot, but it's not all fitting because you got that young look on you.
Why, thank you. Yes, thank you.
Well, welcome. You got to tell me about what it's been like and all the excitement. Even I know the graduates and all of that kind of good stuff, but we're going to kind of listen in, and we're going to let Dr. Stokes, if she doesn't mind, lead it off a little bit, and then we're going to have you jump back in.
Sure, thank you.
All right. Well,
so, a lot of things going on. How was it? How has it been? I'm just excited to hear all about it.
well, I will tell you, first of all, I am privileged after a 7-year state takeover to be the first superintendent for the Gary Community School Corporation, and I am just ecstatic about that. And I will tell you, it has been wonderful. I am truly in my element when it comes to supporting students, staff, families, and community. I always say, when you're in the center of God's will, you are exactly where you're supposed to be, and this is where I'm supposed to be. So I won't sugarcoat and say that everything has been easy or perfect. I don't expect it to be that. But what I can tell you is that I've had wonderful colleagues and a wonderful school board and community, and I love our mayor, who's been supporting us along the way as we pivot for things that come up. So it's been a lot of work. It's been challenging, but hey, we are making things happen.
Well, that's what I love to hear. So at the end of the school year, can you give us at least some of the highlights that have happened?
I will give you some highlights, what I would say challenging and opportunities and great.
Okay.
We started the year out where we were going around. It was just me for a while. I literally walked in the door trying to fulfill about 5 different roles. But over time, I was able to hire a great team, my chiefs. I was able to hire chiefs and have people help me. And of course, students and staff and community members, boots on the ground, they lend assistance to me as well. But you know, that was one of the things I've been meeting staff, I've been meeting teachers, I've had opportunity to meet community members, a lot that was going on. We've also collaborated regarding challenges. You know, we had the tornado, right, that hit one of our school buildings. We were able to pivot and get our students relocated and back into their buildings in a short amount of time. You know, we had all the scares with legislative changes. We worked closely with our legislators. In fact, I would be remiss if I didn't share that at one of my visits to the state capitol, the Senate actually recognized me, and I had a standing ovation, which made me feel really good. It's nice to be recognized for things that you do. But we worked close with our senator, particularly Mark Spencer, to make sure that some of the bills that were being proposed did not pass. As you know, one of the bills was to force us to become a charter school. And I've always said we have nothing against charter schools, but we do believe that parents should have the right to choose. We want that choice to be Gary Community Schools because we believe we can offer a lot for our children. So we dealt with the legislative portion. We also did a lot of what I call community type engagements. I've been to churches. I've been to various organizations out in the community. Where possible, if I've been asked to speak or join various activities, I've tried to do that, barring that I don't, you know, not share time with my own personal children. You know, I've done things that I can do. I've enjoyed the time that I've built relationships and continue to build relationships with my board members. Did I say they are a wonderful board? They are. I've had courageous conversations with community members. We don't always see eye to eye, but what I always explain to them, and we walk away with an understanding that I will express the why behind decisions that we make and how they impact us in legal, you know, in legal ramifications. And we can agree to disagree, but 99% of the time we typically agree. So I've worked with our community, and I try to be open and transparent, and above all, I try to make sure that we work collaboratively. Some of the other things that I would say is that there are some things that with the legislative outcomes that are going to be opportunities for us to work differently. They can be looked at as challenges, but I'm going to look at them as opportunities to work differently. And what I want to say to the community is that we are in a position where we will have to cut our budget. I am trying to cut out about $3.5 million a year. And I'm working on a plan to do that. And what that means for students and staff is that we won't stop providing the necessary needs for our students. It just might look different in how we provide it. So we're just trying to be fiscally responsible to make sure that the district continues to move forward. With that being said, I do want to remind the district that one of the changes that impacts us legislatively has to do with referendum. And I want the district to understand and the community to understand that we utilize $10 million a year from referendum funding. So understand that I'm in a position now where if I'm looking to change our budget by 3.5 mil, if in a couple years we did not pass and renew a referendum, that would be an additional $10 million. Now I want you to think about that. So with that being said, even should we, or I want to be positive and say when we pass a referendum, we still will not get the entire 10 mil because with new legislative guidelines, we have to give a portion of that money to our charter schools. So with that being said, I will be reaching out and asking our charter schools to work collaboratively with us as we message the need for a referendum. So those are some of the things that are going on. There is a whole lot that I could tell you. The one thing that I do want to say is that we have seniors who we had the privilege to get a little bit more intimate with lately. They had a wonderful senior luncheon. They had a wonderful picnic. And they had a wonderful transportation to visit the elementary schools that they once attended. Our seniors are going to be graduating soon on Sunday, and we are just happy. I'm going to, at this point, turn it over to Dr. Treadwell a little bit because she supervises our principals who supervise the teachers who supervise our students.
All right. And I appreciate that. So we want to talk about academic-wise and what were some of the other things that they did, although Dr. Stokes gave us a brief view there. And so let's talk to me about working with the students and how that all went.
Sure. So it has been a great path forward when I think about where Gary has been and where we're looking to go to really ensure that all of our students are not only surviving but really thriving academically. We want them to soar in all of their academics. And so I came in October and did a landscape scan to really see where we were as a district. And in those last 7 years, there were many things that were impacted, right? And so one was the academic landscape. I have heard from multiple community members how great Gary Community School has been in the previous years and where we were academically. And so one of my main goals this year was really to understand what happened, right? Like what caused some of those gaps to occur for our students so that we can really get out of the red in some of those spaces. And so learning about where our teachers were instructionally, where our principals were instructionally, we began to dig in holistically to provide high quality professional development, not only for our teachers, but also our school leaders. And that was really impactful. We spent the latter part of the year really digging into the gradual release of responsibility, which is a strategy to really provide for teachers to be able to meet the needs of all students. And this approach really gives them a bird's eye view in how to structure a lesson to meet the needs of all kids, right? And so taking that on was a huge lift because now you're moving away from PD at one school and another school to really doing district-wide PD to make sure we were all moving in the right direction at the same time on the same page. And so we actually just had our teachers do a survey to tell us how had that PD that we've been engaging in the last 6 months impacted them. And many of them said great things, like their lesson planning looks different, how they look at student data looks different, how they deliver their lessons look different because now they're being more intentional. And while we only have preliminary data that I won't share numbers with, we're seeing many of our students grow with great paths forward. And so I think that's to a testament of our staff and our staff and our leaders being dedicated to the work that needs to be done to really ensure that Gary is greater, because we have great staff members in our buildings every day working hard. And so that was one big piece. The other big piece that we focused on was ensuring that we had high quality curriculum in our schools. And so we just launched a curriculum adoption process in the spring. And next year in our pre-K through 5th grade schools, they will engage in a robust curriculum for literacy that will provide small groups instruction, lessons really tailored to meet the needs of our diverse students, and really give teachers a clear roadmap on how to provide literacy instruction to our students. And so we're excited about that. That is a huge lift. And we engaged our teachers in that conversation. They had a lot to say about what they wanted to implement in their classrooms. And we took that to heart as we thought about what would be the best curriculum to really do the great things that we're trying to do. And so that was one of the great things that we've done this year. Additionally, we've done professional development at the individual level. So we've had principals visit other great classrooms and schools across the region to really see what high quality school experiences look, sound, and feel like. And I think that has afforded us an opportunity to think about what do we want to do different as we continue to build and grow as a district and a community together.
So can you tell me what's the actual enrollment that you have right now?
We're roughly around 4,500.
4,500. Wow.
Yeah.
And what's the number for the graduating class?
220.
Wow.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yes.
And that number can change if we have a few scholars who have some minimal things that they needed to do, so that number could actually go up just slightly before Sunday.
Thank you. So let's ask the question. You're talking about professional development and how you're moving forward and the plan for the students. What does some of that look like? Can you give us a little sampling?
Sure.
Okay.
So, for example, to really meet the individual needs of students, we did some really strategic small groups for students. So in the classroom, outside of the classrooms, we looked at their academic data and really tailored lessons just for them for smaller groups. And that required not only PD for the teachers, but also to the principals as well, so that they can monitor what was happening in those small groups. And so students were given that access and that opportunity on a daily basis. And it has been ongoing. And that is something that will continue into the next school year because we saw it to be meaningful, but also to give us and yield the impact that we were hoping that it would yield. And so that's just one of the things that we're working on. Also, too, really leveraging ed tech programs to provide individualized support for students. And so we have resources that can target individual skills down to the skill level for students. And so we train teachers on how to leverage that resource, but also leverage that data to determine if I'm working on 1 + 1 = 2 and my student is not getting it, where do I need to go to get them those prerequisite skills to provide that instruction, give the instruction, assess to see if they got it, and if they didn't get it, let me go back and remediate. If they did, how do I move them on to the next thing so we can really get them to grade level?
That sounds good. So when we're talking about smaller classes, what's the number that we're going to focus on for students, or will you just be breaking them up into different groups?
Can I answer that? I think I want, for clarity, she's not necessarily saying a smaller class size. She's saying that within the classrooms, we diversify the students to meet their needs based on their skill level and or where they are performing at that time. But it doesn't mean that the classroom is smaller. You're just grouping smaller groups within the classroom.
So does that mean additional personnel within the classroom in addition to the teachers? Or
it means that how we look and stand in front of our students and support their needs is slightly different. We're doing more differentiation based, more groupings, if you will, let's use that word, based on the needs of students. And the reason I caution you about when you say smaller class sizes, because remember what I said, 3.5, I don't want people to think that we're going to have a smaller teacher to student ratio. That's not necessarily the case.
See, you clarified. We're on the same page.
Okay.
We're on the same page, so thank you very much for that explanation. I understand that we had some strides with STEM this year. So how is that going to work moving forward?
So many of our schools are STEM certified, or they are implementing STEM coursework. And so that will continue. We think that STEM provides our students great opportunity for their future careers, endeavors, or whatever they're interested in. And so that will be something that we will continue to utilize to really engage in inquiry-based learning because that's what it drives. Students have an opportunity to investigate and ask questions and question science in a different way. And so that will not be going away. I think it taps into a side of the brain that traditional academic pathways don't because, again, students really can lean into their curiosity and question things and engage in hands-on activities. And so all of our schools will continue to leverage that type of instruction. And we will also continue to partner with our local universities who often reach out to us to engage with our students and partner with us.
Wow, that's interesting. Over the summer or last summer, I had the opportunity to go to DC to the U.S. Department of Education. The scary question or the scary conversation is AI. Can we talk about that a little bit, Dr. Stokes?
Yes. So AI is still one of those supports that has to be researched and kind of analyzed so that we can put parameters around the use. I recently attended what we call IASBO, the Indiana Association of School Business Officials, and we had a session with some law attorneys about the use of AI. Because you remember back in the day when we used to talk about, probably, I'm dating myself a little bit, but when they would say that you don't want to plagiarize, you have to be careful when you're using AI to make sure that you don't fall into plagiarism. And so we want to be able to put some parameters in place with our students. We know that they may filter some of their projects or their papers through the AI system, and it will give them choice words. I see it happening already with people's resumes. I see it happening already with information that's being sent to me, even emails. I can see that AI has been in the use. That is okay, but there is a fine line between artificial intelligence and what's actually your professional product that you're producing. So we do have to sit down and come up with some parameters that we will have to share and probably have in our student handbook so that our students understand to what degree can you run your paper through an AI type support.
Wow, that sounds great because, as I said, people are very fearful and they're not wanting their children to just be AI and you're really worried about where that's going to go.
And I agree. And one of the things that the legal cautioned us about from what let's just use, there's many departments, but let's just use human resources as an example. in every district and probably across the states, one of the things that they told us we have to watch out for is you have to be careful what information you put into an AI system. So I'll give you this example. Let's say I have a position open and I'm hiring for, a particular, we'll say a custodial staff as just way of example. I have to be careful what we input, because you can put parameters or characteristics of what you're looking for, and AI can interpret that to mean you only want, let's just say, a Caucasian male over the age of 60, when that may not be what you were actually trying to say. So you have to be careful, because then AI can strategically push out candidates. And so in anything that we do, and this is a call to the community to caution all of us as we use AI, you have to be careful what the information is that you're putting in. You don't want to inadvertently knock out a group of candidates from the opportunity to be able to be employed or apply or interview for a job. So they cautioned us about things like that, and it was real helpful, because of course I'm the CEO of the district, the superintendent, and I want to make sure that we're fair and equitable about any opportunities that people seek to have gainful employment with us. So that was just one area that they were giving us an example of the use of AI. And then they also gave us information, like I just shared, when it comes to our students, how we need to have parameters around how they're going to use it.
The one thing to challenge population are children with the disabilities, and what do you foresee them on the front as they go forward in terms of, will they fit into this model, or in terms of classes, or where there's something particular that you have to do for them individually that you're not doing for the other students?
So I'm going to speak on that, and then I'm going to defer to Dr. Treadwell, because she's in charge of, our academics, but I can't not know what I know.
That's good. I want to hear it.
So, I'll be honest, as superintendent, what I feel makes me a great candidate for Gary, and I actually love this position, is I've probably done just about every role or supervised every role in a pre-K-12 district. If you look at my resume, my background is in special education. So we say supporting students with special needs. I always like to caution people that they are students first. So we don't say special needs students. We say students with special needs, or students who are gifted, or students who have autism. We humanize them first. They are students. So with that being said, our goal always is to provide the least restrictive environment to support our students. That least restrictive environment could be in a general education setting with age-appropriate peers. And that continuum goes to the degree that students might be in a separated classroom with age-appropriate peers, or they might even be away at a different facility, like at the blind school. Like we have students who go to Indianapolis, we have to take them down to the blind school. So we basically provide opportunity and support to meet the needs of students where they are, and it is legal that we do that. We do that through an IEP, an individualized education. We say plan, but it's an individualized education program, because that programming deals with everything from how you get on the bus. Will you be picked up at your door? Will you be going to a bus stop? Will you have a support of a classroom assistant? So basically, to answer your question, we are going to meet the needs of our students where they are. It is our legal obligation, and you know what? It's our moral and ethical obligation to do that. So if you want to share more, Dr. Treadwell.
I'm going to let her do this, but it was like, did you see that head go?
I told you. She said everything.
That's her.
I doubled down on everything she said. It's really about meeting the needs of every student. And that's, again, our priority is differentiation. We cannot do a one-size-fits-all approach to academics or educating our students. They come with diverse needs, even in a gen ed classroom. And really, it's really about training teachers on how to identify what that need is and meeting that need, no matter what your designation might be. They are students first. And so we can't do one size. It's not cookie cutter. You really have to be trained to investigate, how can I support you in what you need? And so differentiation.
And she just pivoted to me into two shout outs that I want to make. I want to appeal to our community and to our listening environment. With that being said, think about everything we just shared. We need great teachers. We need great leaders. We need people who think differently and think outside the box. We cannot prepare students to be students from the 1960s. We have to prepare students to walk into the world that they live in. And like it, love it, or hate it, their world is different than the world that we grew up in. So I need staff members who, first of all, love children. That's the first.
Okay.
The second thing is I need staff members who want to show up and show out on behalf of our students and be willing to get the professional development either that you give to yourself and seek through us as a district to support and meet the needs of our students. Our students are brilliant. They're brilliant. The next call that I want to put out is that students, parents, and community, we do believe that Gary Community Schools is the best place for your students at such a time as this. Nobody can support students with special needs more than we can. Nobody can meet the needs of our scholars more than we can. Are we perfect? Nobody's perfect. Are we willing to pivot and learn and do more? Absolutely. And with that being said, I just want to remind you that if you choose Gary to be the place for your child, our scholars, we will work collaboratively with you to help meet their needs. And with that being said, I'm going to switch over to Dr. Treadwell. I want her to talk about some of the actual opportunities that we are having this summer for Gary Community School students, and if you're in K through 6, for students who are not necessarily Gary Community School students. Dr. Treadwell.
Well, she just asked you read my note. I had that note. I wanted to ask that. I wanted to say that.
Yeah, so we have some great things happening this summer. We have been working diligently, again, to continue this educational journey with our scholars throughout this summer. We don't want them to miss a beat, and we want to continue to pour into them so that they can be great. And so first up, we have summer school that starts on Monday. Yes, they just ended yesterday, and summer school starts on Monday. We don't want them to drop anything that they've learned this year. And so at Glen Park Academy, we will have our 2nd and 3rd grade scholars in the building continuing to grow and to learn. And then we will also have summer school at Westside Leadership Academy for our 9th through 12th grade students who need to continue to build their well and fill their well with knowledge so that they can be successful as we go into the next school year. And then our Career Center, the Gary Area Career Center, is hosting programming as well for students who are in trades programs so that they continue to get their hours, learn their industry, their specific industries that we've outlined for them to come and gain this summer. We're also excited because we're launching this year, it's called Summer Passports. And so what we're looking to do, we have many of our Gary families already signed up. I believe it closes on tomorrow. So look on our website, the link is there to register. So for our kindergarten through 6th grade, rising kindergarten through 6th grade students, you are invited to come to Summer Passport. It will be held at Glen Park Academy, and it will be a day filled with enrichment, activities, gym, hands-on learning, arts and crafts, enrichment, academic enrichment. Throughout the day, they will be there from 8:30 till 3. Lunch will be provided, transportation will be provided. And so it will be all day, and that is for any Gary resident for kindergarten, rising kindergarten through 6th grade students. And then at our high school, we will also be hosting Summer Passport for rising 7th through 12th grade students. Now that specifically is for only our Gary Community School Corporation students, just because that will be the focus at that location. And so similarly at our Glen Park area, they will engage with those same things at the high school level, but we will be adding things such as recording in our studio, art, dance, music, sports camps. So a lot of great things for students to engage in. And so parents, we want them to come and be in the space because it will be a great time. It will be a fun time, but they will also have an opportunity to build friendships and learn amongst their grade level peers. Can't leave that out. We also have a STEM camp this summer at both of our middle schools. And so that is exciting. Those students that are already there, I think we have about 40 students at each school that will engage in STEM activities for a week of fun in connection with Gear Up. And then last but not least, we have Urban League Learning Lab, and that will be held at the Glen Park Academy for our rising kindergarten through 5th grade students. And so we have a lot of things happening in the school corporation that parents can really engage in and students can come and partake in. So,
and I would be remiss if I did not give a shout out to Mayor Melton. Mayor Melton and I we try to meet monthly collaboratively with Mayor Melton, Mr. Suggs, which is our board president. We try to meet and discuss ways that we can partnership. And one of the things that he asked was if the school would partner with the city so that we could give students a safe place to go in the summer and have some things to do. This is how we came up with Summer Passport. And this is one of the reasons that we decided we wanted to have a Summer Passport. And that name, by the way, was developed by our own Mrs. Chelsea Whittington, Summer Passport. So I wanted to just share that. But all of these opportunities that Dr. Treadwell has just shared, we want you to go to our website, because I know she shared a lot. I want you to go to our website, and Mrs. Whittington, if you can share, are there other ways that they can also get this information? Please share.
Yes, we encourage listeners and viewers to go to garyschools.org. Again, that's garyschools.org. You can also give us a call if you need some guidance at 219-881-5466. Again, that's 219-881-5466. For those of you who are in social media world, we'd love for you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and X with the same information there. And of course, we also have can I say it, Natalie? We have another station that they could also tune into. Natalie's side-eyeing me. So let's start with garyschools.org and our social media. And of course, you can give us a call, 881-5466.
So I do want to go back, and I like the fact that you said that you're partnering with the city so we can keep our children active. When you said, so all children or other children from other schools, like maybe even a charter, are they allowed to enroll in some of these programs that you do have here?
Only rising K through 6 at Glen Park Academy.
Okay. All right.
At the secondary level, everything will be held at Westside Leadership, and that is reserved for our scholars.
Okay.
Now, if you want to become one of our scholars,
Mm-hmm.
hey, that would be great.
Okay, all right. Now, since you said that, and I got to roll back on this because you're very passionate about the children, and you can tell that. One of the complaints that we had, and you said the good with the bad, is that parents didn't know how to access you. We couldn't get to them, or we had to do this. Explain that process so we don't start.
Did you say access me?
The school.
The school. Oh, the schools.
The schools or different things.
I will be honest.
Problematic.
When I first started, that was one of the things that I heard, was that parents weren't allowed in the schools. When I spoke to some of my staff to try to get a better understanding, there is no right or wrong. There's always somebody's opinion, and then somewhere in the middle, the truth. But one of the things that was shared was that it wasn't that parents didn't have access. It was that during the COVID time, the access was limited, and some of those rules never quite changed. But what I can tell you is, I tell everybody this: I can't change the past. We are not under MGT. This is Dr. Stokes. We are under a school board that is wonderful, and we are leading this district. If families want to come into our schools, we welcome them. But here's what I need families to understand. We must keep the main thing, which is teaching and learning. You cannot think that we would have you come into a classroom and disrupt the learning environment. And I don't believe any parent would want to do that. But yes, families are welcome. We just ask that they give 24-hour notice. And if they can't, that they come in, you sign in, check in, you go to the office, and you might express to the principal what your need is. But yes, we want to very much partner with our families, because you, parents, you are your children's first teachers. You are, believe it or not, you're their first teachers. And we just get the privilege of working alongside you to teach your children, our scholars.
Dr. Stokes, if I might add, that for the volunteer piece, there's the requirement of the background check. And that's the other piece that some may not know, that it's required. If you want to go on field trips and be around our students, we want to make sure that they're safe and that you are lawfully able to be around our students. And so the background check is in place for them to be able to volunteer and participate in activities in the building on an ongoing basis. So that's another piece to access to the building.
And that speaks actually to some Indiana codes and board policies. As we all know, that there have been a lot of legislative changes, and we are constantly updating our policies, which many will see at our board meetings as we begin to talk about revising. But that is actually a board policy. You have to have a background check, and we want you to. We want to make sure that you're safe to be. So it's nothing personal. We are just erring on the safety of our children, and quite honestly, all of our staff.
One of the big issues, and one of the things that we constantly hear about, is the truancy issue. Going into the school year, what's the plan? How do we plan? What's the plan of attack?
So we have a department that's called Student Services, and this is their first year in existence. And basically, when I started last year, I had, you know, that song, Boots on the Ground. It's real. We had 3 staff members from that department who partnered with some of our rovers, the security, to do boots on the ground travel to homes to say, hey, your child should be in school. Can you help us understand why he or she is not in school, and what can we do to assist you in getting them there? And it was a real good support because we were able to not only get students in school, but we've increased our enrollment by quite a bit. But truancy is real, but truancy is not just a Gary Community Schools issue. Truancy is a community issue. Because at the end of the day, we always say, see something, say something if you need to. If students aren't getting to school, we need to understand, first of all, why are they not getting there? And if there's a need that's not being met, it may be a need that we can support as a school district, but sometimes it's a need that we need community help, maybe from our mental health agencies, maybe from our food banks, maybe just from a plethora of resources in the community that we need. Gary is what, 52 square miles? This is a lot of land to cover. If a parent does not have a vehicle and this child misses the bus, then how do we get them there? So we've literally been working with, like Mrs. Dillard, we've been working with our transportation throughout the city to find out ways that we can be creative, that if a child does miss the bus, now of course I'm talking middle school and higher, that maybe we can get them on the city bus and get them there if they missed their school bus. But we're trying to think of ways that we can support and just get rid of truancy. I don't even like having, you know, students be truant, because to me that there's some kind of need there, and we just have to figure out what it is and try to help.
At the outset, Chelsea, what would we like on time?
About 10 more minutes.
Okay, all right. At the outset, you talked about the 3.5 million. And being that I went downstate and we went to all these meetings and different things, the $2 million surplus, is that part of the 3.5 million?
So when I talk about 3.5 million, and I can just share what I can without trying to go too into the weeds, you know, I always believe that information should be shared when it's solid.
Okay.
With that being said, this is a spinoff of, if you've looked at Senate Bill 1, Senate Bill 1 does not only affect the schools, but it affects the cities, it affects a lot of other areas. So we are all looking at ways to do things that's supportive, but do them in a more tight fiscal type way. So with that being said, as I shared earlier, we still will provide outstanding supports for our students. We've just got to look at ways to do it differently. And I'll give you one example without sharing too much. For our alternative school program, I'm going to use this as an example to show you how we're still going to meet a need, but we have to pivot just a little bit. We have that program right now occurring from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock, Monday through Friday. Okay, so here's just one example of a way, not written in stone, parents, so don't get upset. But here's one example, I want to be real, one example of how we've been looking at a way that we could do something different. That program currently runs 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock, Monday through Friday, which means that the students are not riding in on a regular bus that would probably get our kids there in the morning and then, you know, at the evening time. So here's what I want you to know. It is costing me $72,000 a month. You think about that. If I could bring the kids in on a school bus at the same time that the other kids come, I just kind of alleviated some of that cost. Does that make sense? Now, if it's alternative and what I want to do differently, the programming and supports that the children need would still be different. And if the kids need modified times, it may be, this is only just an example, it may be that maybe they only come Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday versus Monday through Friday, but they would come at the same time on a bus with our other students, and we would absorb that cost, and that would be money that we're trying to save. We're literally trying to save about 1.2 million with transportation, and then I'm trying to save another 2.3 million or so through programming and or the way we show up and support in terms of human capital. And to be fair and equitable, as I've shared, I'm literally going to have to make some changes from the top to the bottom and everywhere in between in terms of salaries. So with that being said, I'm going to look at every area and to see where we might be able to work a little more efficient.
So one of the things that you talked about is partnerships along with the city of Gary. I'm a member of the National Parents Union, and one of the things we talked about was having more PTAs or PTOs within the schools. Can you tell me what that looks like for you?
Sure. So
Okay.
we actually had a community member to come to the board meeting and speak about that and really advocate for that need. And believe it or not, our school principals want that. We need all hands on deck to support our scholars. And so we do look to revive our parent-teacher associations or PTOs to really get parents in the space. But one of the things that we want to do with that is train parents on what it looks like to be in that space and provide support. We need a lot of help in various areas, monitoring students as they go to the restroom, things of that nature. And so we want to train them. We don't want just an association to say that we have one. We really want it to be meaningful, and so it can really support the greater good of the school community. Additionally, we're looking to launch, it's called All Pro Dads next year. We had a gentleman reach out, and it's really around getting our dads in the space and providing supports for them to connect with their child in the school setting. And so we are excited. Many of our schools have already signed up to launch a chapter in Gary. And so we're looking for innovative ways to get parents in the space in a meaningful way, but also provide the training so that they can do it successfully.
And we're not just looking at parents, we're also looking at providing more mentoring supports for our students. We talked about an initiative for mentoring for some of our high schoolers as a launch, and we were trying to write this past few months. We've been trying to write some programming and supports around that. But it is one of our desires to make sure that every child has a mentor. Everybody needs somebody that they feel understands them and that they can listen to. Of course, we want to make sure that our mentors understand that there are parameters around supporting children. These are not your children. They are children who look up to you, but look up to you has to be in a certain parameter.
It all sounds like we're moving forward, and I have to congratulate you on that. And also in terms of the response and being ready there, being there for the children. I can tell you got attitude with that. It's like, that's good. Yeah. If anything else, then you sing them a song. That's all I can say to you. But there's an approach that you have to have because the enrollment, it's this way or that way. So what are you going to tell the students? What are you going to tell the parents?
So I will tell you that, you know what, to whom much is given, much is required. We have been given the opportunity to support this great community, and we are going to do that. And with that, we are looking, listening, and learning, and we hear you. We hear you. And you said that you want a school district where your kids can be safe, and you said that you want a school district where your kids can learn, especially to read, and you said that you wanted a school district where your students can thrive, and that when they graduate, and even before they graduate, that their needs are being met. Gary Community Schools is pivoting to do all these things. Are we perfect? Absolutely not. Do we have challenges? Of course we do. Will we step up to those challenges? You better believe we will. But at the end of the day, our charge is to meet the needs of our scholars, not the scholars from 1960, but the scholars who are boots on the ground right now in the school, and help them soar. I always say who they are becoming is more important than who they've been. And at the end of the day, when our students graduate, we want them to be prepared for what I call one of those 4 E's. Enrollment in a university of their choice, enlistment in the armed forces if they so choose. We want them to be able to have employment that can support them and their families, or if they choose to be an entrepreneur, and for some or all, do all 4.
All right. You have anything to add to that? I'm sorry, Trace. Yes. Okay.
No, I just want to encourage our families to partner with us along this journey. It is a journey. Success is not a destination. It's a journey. And so as we take 2 steps forward, partner with us and hold our arms up as we do this. This work is, again, it's not for the faint at heart. And so as we handle the most fragile people, which are children. Not fragile in a weak sense, but they come to us with great need. We need all hands on deck, and we want our families, our community members, our staff to know that we need you. We cannot do this work alone. As Dr. Stokes says, it takes you, it takes me, it takes all of us.
All right, you guys did that in unison. Thank you. I know we were on borrowed time, so I appreciate it. But I invite you back because one thing about it is connecting and being the voice and having people talk to one another and not necessarily at one another. So you covered some ground today, and as I said, I invite you back, and I wish you continued success.
We thank you.
You know, on all the endeavors, because as you said, it's a labor of love, but you're ready to step to the challenge.
All righty.
I will see you about PTO. I will be there to visit you and talk to you. So I'm going to make an appointment.
Okay, thank you.
To get that done.
All right. Thank you for having us.
No, it was my pleasure. I'm glad you were able to stop by.